So welcome to the Linux Saloon, the place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Each show will have a talk about a Linux project. This week, we'll be talking about AppImageLauncher, but we could also talk about distribution again. Anything that is Linux, tech, and open source related is on the table for discussion. Coming up, we're going to talk about the AppImageLauncher. Check our menu for next week, which will be the Slackware exploration, and do a news flight and the community free pour right before our last call. So we're going to start off with finding out what people have been doing in Linux this week. And I think I start off with Colin. He has been doing something exciting.
Yes, I've been a bit slack this week, Nate, installing Slackware. Slackware 15.
And is it? Have you crashed and burned yet?
No, it's actually an interesting install, I must say. But I crashed and burned the first time.
He has been doing something exciting.
VirtualBox. This is all VirtualBox.
Yes,
I've been a bit slack this week, and that went really well. So happy to say. But I did 2 VirtualBox installs. I did one last week, I think on Monday, and I did one Friday. So and that went smoothly. So the second time went well. There was just a couple of hiccups, probably things I didn't select correctly on the first go, but that all went smoothly on the second go. So I was pretty happy with that because that's the one I was recording. So interesting beast is Slackware, I must say.
You're a very brave soul for attempting it, I have to say.
Also, don't give us too much, don't too many spoilers, because we do have next week to actually really dig into it. But I'm sure that that wasn't a scold. I'm just saying.
No, that's fine.
But Jill, I know that Slackware was your first distribution.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, I've had fun playing with this latest release too.
So then, good. So then you are no stranger to the all that is Slack and that is where.
Yeah. Yes. PKGs for the win.
That's awesome. Did anybody else have anything they wanted to share before we start talking about AppImageLauncher? Rick, was that a hand?
Can you hear me okay?
You're a little quiet.
A little on the quiet side.
Hello. Okay. I'll try and talk louder. I installed Slackware like 5 times before I got it right. So that's one issue. And the other thing I did was I installed 2 servers. I installed Void on the server. Old computer had 500 megabytes of memory, and so that was interesting. It's it's either late 80s or early 90s computer my mom had that when she passed away in 2016, I inherited it. So, and anyway, that kind of worked, but I couldn't figure out certain things, so I finally just installed Debian on it. And
nice.
Perfect, Rick.
Yeah, I'm working on it now, so trying to get them. I got the MP3s available for music on MPD, and but for some reason on my client side, it shows all the music there and all the stuff there, but when I click on it, it just does nothing happen. It just has a pause button by it. I'll figure it out eventually, but yeah.
Well, that's very cool. Do you know what the CPU is in that?
It's got like about almost 2.8. I don't remember exactly what CPU is on it. I have to go look.
No worries. No worries. You can. That's homework for next week. So make sure you you tear it apart and then you bring that information next week, and then we can all.
I'll just use Neopatch for you.
Okay. Well, we can do that too. That's excellent. Was anybody else that wanted to share something?
Eris just shared that apparently Colin has a good singing voice.
Yeah. There was a different kind of open mic night. I'm sure that he was. Yeah.
He posted a song he sang for Christmas, I think.
Yeah, that was with Echo. Almost got copyrighted.
I think they call that reverb, don't they? And it's
something like that.
Well, if you're fancy, sure. Well, I wanted to just, I guess, update. If you remember last week, I was having some woes with recording and stuttering and things like that. And so as my second boot partition on here on this laptop, I had Linux Mint. So I booted into that after last week's show, and I have not looked back and have not had any issues whatsoever with stuttering, recording, anything like that. So, but what was interesting, and I don't know, Nate, if you wanted me to bring this up now, but we had actually had someone, the director of I guess, what do you call the main person for a distribution?
We call them the
dictator?
Yes, the benevolent dictator. Well, he may not be the head dude or dudette.
Head dude. Yes, it could definitely be the head dude.
I think it's usually the leader.
Yeah, the lead developer.
Is it Sam? I'm sorry, I forget.
I know his name is Sam, but it's S period in his email, so it could be Sam.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, the developer behind Gecko Linux, which, if you guys know, is the I guess the easy way to install OpenSUSE, if you will. So it's a snapshot of OpenSUSE with a variety of different desktops, both on Leap and Tumbleweed. And it has a nice Calamares installer, and it makes it really simple to just get a quick image of OpenSUSE on your system. So it's almost like Endeavor is to Arch in a way. You know how it's sort of like a jumping off point. It kind of gets Arch on your system, and then you take it from there. And so he reached out to me just to let me know, and this is actually on the forum as well, Destination Linux forum. But he was just saying that there are some scheduler things. There are some issues with, I guess, with Pulse Audio. I think he was saying there were some tweaks that he was making to specifically to Gecko Linux, and he said, if you're still having problems, you may want to give it a try, because he himself was having those types of issues in the past as well. But I just thought it was really great for him to take the initiative to reach out and let me know. So I have been okay on Mint all week, and haven't really had the time to really try out anything else. But I'm really happy to know now that, if I'm looking for a solution where someone else has already had, sort of those issues with maybe with some hardware configuration, that he was aware of them, has made those changes, and all of his releases for Gecko Linux include those tweaks built right in. So I thought that was really great.
Yeah, I thought it was great that he really took some time to answer a lot of questions there on the discourse forum.
Yeah, it was great. It really was. I'm not sure. I've had, I guess I've had some developers reach out. So after I've made some videos on their projects, have them reach out to me and say, offer, like if let's say I have a question in the video or something like that, and have them offer to help me with things, or explain something that I couldn't figure out. So I thought it was just really nice of him to take the initiative to do that. So yeah, good stuff.
Excellent. Was there anybody else that had anything to to share?
During a couple of weeks ago, Pop came down with some kind of update, and they added the 470 and 390 NVIDIA drivers in, and it was causing a problem with an update. An update just wouldn't go, and I learned how to basically remove the and if anybody's having problems with Pop on NVIDIA with a specific update that won't update, just remove the 470 NVIDIA driver and so the app update, and you're good to go.
Excellent. So were there a lot of problems around that, or was it more of a
just
a unique issue?
And just a little annoying nag. It wouldn't update. I think it was mainly for like flats, the NVIDIA part of flats, and it just wouldn't update. So just have to remove the 470. I guess they did it for regression in case you needed to roll back from the 510 NVIDIA driver, but I've been having no problems with that on my main system, so I just removed the 470.
Well, that's good news. Anytime I've not historically had a great experience with NVIDIA on some hardware, but that was
You did it for
probably almost 10 years ago now, so maybe I should not be so harsh in NVIDIA anymore, I suppose. Well, all right. Unless anybody else had anything they wanted to throw in there on their.
There's something, well, besides doing lots of show notes for lots of shows, Linux podcast, I've actually had fun playing with the element call feature this week for over the Matrix network.
I read about that. Yeah.
So it's been working pretty well. You can't have any more than 8 participants right now, but I did test it and it worked very well. I was really impressed by it, and I'm excited to use it as an alternative to Jitsi in the future.
Is it audio and video, or just audio?
Yeah, it's WebRTC. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's nice that they're going and doing their own, because they have been using a Jitsi plugin for a while on Matrix and Element.
And I read that they had done a really nice job with the UI as well, and just made it like fits in very nicely and stuff. Yeah.
And you can move, change the size and shape of all the participants. And I'm sorry, Cubicle, I interrupted you. What were you saying?
No, I was going to say, how does it, performance-wise, is it comparable to Jitsi? Is it a little bit better, a little worse? How do you feel it compares performance-wise?
I think it will. It's a little bit sluggish right now, but it's still very, very early times. But I think when it gets more polish, it'll be maybe nicer than Jitsi, if not equivalent. At least Jitsi, does have great sound and video quality, when you're using it on the server end and doing everything right.
And that too, honestly, if you think back maybe 2 or 3 years, Jitsi really wasn't as polished as it is today. So, having people use it really makes a big difference. So I'm assuming that, the more people that they roll this out to, the more feedback they're going to get, the better it's going to get. So
yeah,
that's
absolutely
great.
Now I wonder, I think isn't Jitsi like peer-to-peer or whatever, actually sends the individual streams to the different users or something like that? Is that correct, or is that not correct?
Yeah, you can install a server version, which is direct and not peer-to-peer. So, and then you can write scripts to override the peer-to-peer. I've been using it. We've been using it at Linux Gamecast for years, but we're just using the video. Audio, we're using Sonobus. So we wanted better. The audio on Jitsi is actually really good, but when I'm working with Ven, he wants perfect. So we have real time uncompressed audio.
Yeah.
Which to me is a lot like magic as to how that's done. So,
and then of course at Destination Linux, we use a Jitsi room for our patrons, and then we pipe them in when we're going live on Sundays. But we going live on Sundays on Destination Linux, we're using Video Ninja, OBS Video Ninja, which is that's a really awesome client as well. We like that a lot.
It's an OBS instance essentially that sits in a server someplace. So you're not restricted by whatever home bandwidth limitations you might have.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's really nice.
Wow.
We've been loving it. Michael's like, nope, we're not going to change from this. We're going to keep using OBS Ninja.
That sounds great. Yeah, because it would solve a lot of those bandwidth problems and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat. There's some OBS has, OBS is just one of those examples of a, best of breed open. It doesn't just happens to be open source, but it's the best, tool for the job, for streaming, for full stop. There's nothing better that I have ever really seen. There's more specialized things, StreamYard and a couple other ones that I've seen that are very sort of, but they're niche. They seem like they address a very specific set of users. Versus OBS, which has this plugin infrastructure and ecosystem that there's just, between NDI and some of these other plugins that OBS has, and it's incredible.
It's amazing
what you can do with it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the best pieces of software for all of us.
Yeah,
it's literally changed the world. I mean, Over 90% of Twitch streamers and YouTube streamers are using OBS.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that's a pretty big vote of confidence, no doubt.
That's pretty amazing, actually, and it's open source software that actually won that battle.
Absolutely, woohoo!
Okay, so I guess we'll just head on to the discussion of the evening, AppImageLauncher, and how it worked with AppImages. I know Eric did a video on it a couple of years ago. I've been using it. There's some nice integration that goes on with it.
Yeah, and AppImageLauncher, I mean, just to kind of give folks an idea of what it is, you know, you run AppImages, you download the file, and it's a completely self-contained file with the executable and the libraries and everything it might need to run, which is great, right? It's completely portable file, and more so than even, you know, Flatpaks and snaps and all of that, which require the whole sort of underlying system. AppImages are literally self-contained, which is pretty cool, right? But the one thing they don't do very well is integrate with your system. So they don't have. I mean, you can certainly link them. You can create your own desktop files. There are ways that you can do it, but I think for the average user, it's a little bit of a pain to kind of have to manage AppImages, right? Let's say you're using the Kdenlive AppImage, or you're using, you know, whichever one you specific. I use Joplin, the note-taking app, and I use their AppImage. So Zoom is a Flatpak, never mind. But anyway, so what AppImageLauncher lets you do is when it sort of runs the daemon in the background. When it sees that an AppImage is being loaded or launched, intercedes and sort of pops up and says, "Do you want to open this?" You can open it once just to sort of run it, or you can open it and integrate with the system. And integrating with the system essentially means it's going to move that file to a central location, usually your home folder applications. It'll move a copy of it there, put it there so that they're all in one place. And then it'll also create a .desktop file for that AppImage under your local share applications folder in your home directory. And so those are the things you could do manually, but it's just doing it for you automatically. And then if you want to run, let's say you get another version of an AppImage, so you can have like a newer version, but you're not sure. Let's say you get the newest Kdenlive and you don't know if it's going to work right for you. You can actually have multiple versions of the same application, and it actually appends the version number. So you could have Kdenlive, you know, whatever, and Kdenlive the next one, and you can have multiple versions. So that's helpful to be able to troubleshoot. And then also you can choose to uninstall, which essentially would mean remove the application file, the AppImage file, as well as the desktop launcher. That's the nutshell of what it does. I've been using it for probably 2-3 years now, and it works really, really well.
In some systems, it doesn't always bring up the icon. Some do and some don't. I notice on Pop it doesn't, but when I was using it in Peppermint, it did, you know, on Ubuntu. So I don't know.
Honestly, I've been using it basically since Eric's video as well. I even I wrote a little article on a step-by-step as well, because I was so excited by AppImageLauncher. And it's something that I use all the time, which is actually where I want to segue into. Eris, do you want to go into the poll for how the AppImage exploration is going for people?
Yes. 38% of people said AppImageLauncher is amazing. 19% said AppImageLauncher is okay. 4% said I'm not having a good time with AppImageLauncher. 8% said I'm not interested in trying AppImageLauncher. 19% said I'm unable to do the exploration this week. 4% said I'm not interested in doing the explorations in general. And 8% said other. One reply that I got was that they thought that AppImageLauncher worked very good, but they just didn't like AppImages, unfortunately.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, it's not going to fix that.
No.
And it varies from AppImage to AppImage as to how well they work or integrate with your system based on, you know, how they're rolled up by the developer.
Correct.
And also that's part of the discussion I definitely want to have. But before we do that, I want to find out, like, so what kind of applications were you running using AppImage, and did you compare them to another format, either with system packages, Flatpaks, or snaps? So Eric, about you Do you have any applications?
Yeah, I remember. So besides Joplin, which I've been using Joplin as an app image for several years now, never had an issue with it, which is great. The other one I use is Bitwarden. So Bitwarden is usually published. You can get it as an app image, the Bitwarden desktop package. And so I've been using Bitwarden desktop as an app image for that same amount of time as well. Bitwarden's icon works perfectly fine, the icon. Joplin's never does. And I think that comes down to the way that it's packaged. And it's my fault for not telling the developer probably, and I should just probably log a bug and say, so what I end up doing every time there's a new version of Joplin is I just go find the desktop file that's under local share applications, and just inside the desktop file, there's icon equals, and then I have a copy of the PNG icon in download icon joplin.png, and I just know that path, and I just paste it in there, save, boom, fixed. And it doesn't come out enough. There's not enough updates that it is annoying to have to do. That's probably why I have not reported it yet. It's just easier to fix it than it is to report it. But yeah, anything, any app images that you download. So like, let's say you download a new one, AppImageLauncher, again, it's running in the background as a service or as a daemon. And whenever it sees there's a new app image launching, whether you just downloaded it or, whatever, it's going to pop up and ask you, do you want to run it once? Do you want to run and integrate? Or there might be a cancel as well, like just leave me alone.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, there's. So Rick, what do you got?
Well, at first I installed it. I had installed it, used it or attempted to use it once before. But as I was installing it, it worked this time. First time I tried to use it was like about a year ago, I guess, or so. And I couldn't get it to install on my then Acer computer over here. So I don't know what the problem with that was, but it inspired me to write a script to make it easier to plug AppImages, because I was really interested in AppImages. And also I installed this time on the framework, and it installed without a hitch. So I don't know what the problem was the first time, but anyway.
So AppImageLauncher didn't actually install on your other system?
Right. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Install. I don't remember what the problem was. It was a while back, like a year ago or so.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so maybe they fixed whatever it was that caused that problem at that time, or maybe there's some conflict with the computer or something. Who knows? I downloaded Falcon and the app image for that, and when I clicked on it, nothing happened. I mean, when it opened up in the thing, the app launcher recognized it and moved it over to my application directory, all that kind of stuff. It never opened up. So I downloaded LibreWolf instead, and that one opened up, and I used it for a while. I actually used it on my live stream.
Do you have a Qt-based desktop environment when you ran Falcon? Because I wonder if maybe that might have something to do with that, if maybe it just wasn't packaged with the appropriate libraries.
Might be now on this computer I don't have any Qt-based right now. I've got a XFC on this one and XFC on the other one too. So
it's interesting.
But at the time I did have a Qt-based on the Acer. That may be why I didn't install back then.
That's interesting. That'd be something to explore for sure, to see, because if you run it, like I'll run an app image in the terminal to see if it doesn't run, what's going on, and that sometimes I can figure it out sometimes.
Which app image which app image launcher did he download? I'm interested in
the one from App Hub.
So there is a link up the top of Eric's video for the Assassin app image launcher. If you click on that link, and on his web page on the right hand side, there's a plus 37 releases. If you click on that, they've got releases for all different what can you say? But Debian
distributions.
All different distributions. Yeah.
I download the RPM from there.
Yeah.
At the time I ran the app image on here, it didn't load or install correctly.
Did you install or pull down the AppImageLauncher AppImage?
Yeah.
Because that's what I was having, and Eric said, yeah, it's like a light version, and it doesn't work, and you're best off installing a deb version.
Because on the AppImage Hub, it's got an AppImageLauncher there for Arch and Manjaro. That's the only one it has, and the other one is a nightly release, which is a bit odd.
On there at the time, or Debian-based distro on there, and I tried to install it.
That's something to certainly be investigated. So if you try this again, try the like a native package for running AppImageLauncher.
Yeah, I might try and go there again and see if I can install that one. If it doesn't work,
see that changes things.
Go back into the SS. And
be good to do a bug report or something like that concerning that. So, Peter.
So, a fun timing story. This week's been quite busy. I did install Slackware the first time, no problem. Why people have multiple installs, I have no idea. But anyway, I've been ill a few days, but better now. And this morning on the Peppermint forum, someone asked a question about the AppImage Hub and the AppImageLauncher. And I thought, oh, I don't have that installed. So I went and installed it, set up the hub, set up the launcher, installed SuperTuxCart as a test app. All worked well. I was able to answer some of the questions that were being asked in the Peppermint forum. And then after all that, I goes, hold on, Linux Saloon are talking about that tonight. And that was today, and I'd never used it before.
Well, that's excellent. So it was real easy for you to just get going with it.
Yeah. Well, at least Peppermint made it easy.
It's generally easy to use on most distributions, hopefully by this point. My kind of like quibble I'll go with when it comes to using AppImage and AppImageLauncher is paradoxically how kind of annoying it is to make it so it like behaves consistently with the rest of the stuff I have on my system, like plugging it into like if you don't have it is not necessarily clear that AppImageLauncher is something that you need for things to necessarily work properly. And even then, like AppImage Hub and all these things are super optional. And so people tend to, and deliberately, AppImage Hub doesn't provide a way for applications to notify themselves of, hey, there are updates or whatever. Like you have to come up with a way for updates for AppImages to work. And that's, I think, kind of the most frustrating thing, because sometimes apps just don't do that.
Yeah.
And it makes AppImages feel like even in distributions, I think what's it, Nitrix? I think Nitrix was one that I tried recently that actually says AppImages are super first class. These are the things we prefer. And it's like, yeah, these don't feel first class because the apps are all over the place when it comes to how they handle being an AppImage. And I get that AppImage is supposed to be kind of a choose your own adventure kind of thing when it comes to how you actually make them and ship them and whatever, but it shouldn't feel like a choose your own adventure for how you run them and maintain them on your system. And I think that's my quibble with them. And that even extends to things like, hey, will it make a desktop file that works? Will the desktop file show up on the system? Can it associate itself with file extensions and stuff like that? And it just sort of really varies a lot. Like that, I think the variation is what kind of kills me compared to, say, Flatpak, where I feel like this is a lot more consistent and the integration is a lot cleaner and things seem to work more reliably. I mean, I'm not going into things like sandboxing or whatever. That's where things really diverge. But like from a user experience point of view, I think this is where I have a problem with AppImages, because it just feels like there's nothing I can do to make an AppImage behave consistently on my system.
I agree with that. A lot of that has to do with the way that the developer packages the AppImage. Is like you mentioned, updating and things. Bitwarden does a pretty good job because it'll actually tell you, hey, well, there's a new version, would you like to upgrade? But so few AppImages actually do that, and some by design, I guess, because, you know, like I said, maybe you can run multiple versions of an application by way of different versions of the AppImage file. But I agree with you that I do not prefer AppImage as the package of choice. I would much rather use something like Flatpak that is much better integrated with the system. And even Flatpak, there are times where a native package is a better choice, even if it's slightly older, just because of the integration factor. With theming and with, like you said, associating file types and things like that. There are times that even Flatpak doesn't work very well with that. So, and that's desktop environment dependent to some degree as well. But yeah, I agree. The AppImages can be all over the board, and I think that's probably something that has kept them, the functionality and as well as the discoverability, right? FlatHub is somewhere you can go. Snapcraft, you can go places and find those other packages. AppImages are just sort of, they're just sort of there. And I guess AppImage, what is that new AppImage Hub? Is that what that's called?
Yeah, I think, and so the funny thing about AppImage Hub is that that's actually the name of multiple different places. And either they're official or not, and it's not clear to me if there's an actual AppImage Hub or equivalent that is actually like an official listing of things, and that's whatever. But like when it comes to my personal preference is a native package, then maybe a Flatpak, then maybe a Snap, and then probably not an AppImage, just simply because of how things tend to work on my systems. Even with systems that are like, hey, we like AppImages and we do stuff for them. I don't feel like AppImages work all that well, at least because it seems like it's a lot more work for developers to actually make them be good. And I just don't. And if I'm going to go through the effort of using a third-party system, I'd really like the third-party system to do stuff for me, because otherwise it's not that much better than configure, make, install. At least from my perspective.
Jinda, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, one of the problems I had for some strange reason on XFCE, this is MX Linux, it did not work because you could not hit auto start integration. The check box was gone. So I looked it up online. It's a common problem. All I had to do is change my theme to a different one.
I think you wanted to say
I could click it and go back. You don't have to really go back to use it again. But it was one of the issues that was coming up. So if anyone else had that problem, hopefully you guys can fix it.
And so the funny thing about AppImage Hub.
Yeah, I didn't have that one. That's interesting.
Yeah.
What theme was it that was causing it to have troubles? Was it the default theme?
It was the default MX dark theme. It was actually all the MX ones that were in there did it. I went to the last one on the list that I never heard of before and clicked it and go, okay, I never clicked this one before. I don't even know what it is. And turned everything white and blue. And then it was magically delicious and started working.
Huh. That's pretty wild.
But it is a common problem. If you go online and look it up, you'll definitely find that everyone's aware of it. They know it's out there. Just something to bring up.
No, that's good. Because I had no idea. Jill.
Yeah. And speaking of Jinda, I was just going to make a point of that is that with the themes that I've used in XFCE, I've never had an issue with it, but I'm not using default. So that's the thing, because I saw that on the forums about that issue. But what I wanted to say is, honestly, AppImages are my favorite containerized format. And it has nothing to do with, I love Flatpak too. It's because it was the first on Linux. So it's been around for years. And in the early years of using Linux, it was nice to be able to go to a website and just download the AppImage and run it. That was really a nice feature.
It's definitely the quick way to do it, right?
Yeah. Now, I honestly do like Flatpak a little better for the organization part, but as far as just the freedom of an AppImage, it is kind of nice. It's nice that we have both options. We have one that it's not real. There's not really a centralized way to do it, so everyone just kind of does it itself. And then we have Flatpaks and Snaps. I honestly do like.
It's definitely the quick way to do it.
It's nice that we have. Yeah. Definitely.
Now,
I
both.
honestly do like Flatpak a little better.
And,
Yeah,
so
I totally agree. And kind of on that point, and there was I can't remember, like it's like I think Infinitely Galactic, I think, or something. Like there was a YouTube channel that was talking about AppImages, and I could be wrong. It might be somebody else. That he used AppImages to because they're very portable, and so he would just sync all those AppImages across all those different computers, and you'd have the applications he wanted. It was a real clever way to basically have all your apps available. And I thought that was a really neat way to implement apps or AppImages anyway, and so forth. But I like the unique way of handling it versus the other packaged apps. It's less front end work.
Yeah, less front end work. And it actually really is good for a quick and dirty, hey, let's put out the latest version of Kdenlive or Inkscape.
Yeah,
In
for
fact,
sure.
that's where when I test all the latest versions, that's what I use as the AppImages, and then I go and install the deb or the DNF it later. So
Yeah, that's real interesting.
yeah,
That's a very, very interesting way to test things out, for sure.
yeah. And in fact, I use Kdenlive with AppImageLauncher, and it works great with that.
Steve, go ahead.
That's cool.
So a good thing, Jill mentions Kdenlive with the AppImage. So a couple of years, come on, hand, go away.
Waiting
kill
for
my
the
hand. There you go. I'm on MX tonight, and because I was having issues on my pop, and things are just not. I had to install things at the last minute. But anyway, so a couple years ago when I tried Kdenlive in the AppImage, because I kept hearing how good it was, I would have issues where I would go to open a file to bring things in to make something, and it was like almost all black. There you go. Background was black. The lettering was black. I'm on MX file. I couldn't find nothing. I was having issues. I don't know what I bothered to look into it. I just really didn't use it. I do, and there are some, and like what Neil was talking about a little bit ago, the integration in that. ClipGrab's a good little program if you like to use it, but it won't work unless you got YouTube DL installed, and it will install through the AppImage, but it won't work if you don't have like Python 2 and Python 3 on your system.
Oh yeah.
I had to research that. I like using OpenShot as a quick video editor, and I'll use the AppImage, and I was using it before. I tried to download the new one and open it up, and I get this box of error that comes up all of a sudden. And I know that's probably maybe the way it was packaged in that, but they do have their issues with sometimes how they work.
Oh yeah. I know with Kdenlive, if again, I just use that for testing, but if you're bringing in files that are several gigs in size, they will sometimes have issues, like the black screen issue.
I was just like doing images and maybe small clips, and just
and
trying to find them though. Like I said, the dialog box for getting into the file manager was all black with black lettering in it.
Oh, it was like in the file manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had that problem. In fact, in the early years of Kdenlive, the AppImage would sometimes work better than the binary install.
That's why I tried it.
Yeah. Well,
the paradox I tend to experience is that I think it's pretty well known by most people here that I tend to run like Fedora or OpenSUSE or whatever on my systems. The paradox I tend to see is that AppImages tend to more easily break if your system is far enough away from the version of the distribution that it was built with. So a lot of Flatpaks, a lot of AppImages tend to be built against what Simon Peter, the creator of AppImage, tended to recommend, several years ago, which was Ubuntu 14.04, which is very, very, very old. And among other things, this influences how a lot of applications tend to work, which is things like requiring Python 2 version of YouTube DL for Kdenlive to be able to do the clip grab, which is not a thing anymore. And because the version of Qt is bundled in there and has its own Qt platform modules and all those things, on my KDE Plasma setup, it doesn't respect my theme. And that means that I'm in Breeze Twilight and it doesn't work properly. Or if I'm in Breeze Dark, it is completely broken because it can't respect my settings. And those kinds of problems, like with GTK applications, this is actually worse. So when I run a GTK application in Breeze Dark on KDE Plasma, it's black on black, which is terrible and unreadable. And so this is one of those things where it's just like, it's been 5, 7, 10 years now. I kind of expected there to be some kind of standardized mechanism that AppImages could include to deal with this problem, because people complained quite a lot about this with both Snap and Flatpak, to the point that they both developed mechanisms to import the host theme to make it work. Well, at least Flatpak did. Snap, I think, tried, and it hasn't worked on my system, but I know it's a thing that they tried to work on. So like, that's the, it's kind of frustrating when something that purports to be like as good as native integration, because it doesn't do sandboxing and things like that, doesn't actually work the way I want it to, or is kind of unusable on my own system. And I get some of this comes from, again, you're building for a target distribution for a very old platform, and so some assumptions get baked in. But sadly, this is actually one of the reasons where if you're going to do a package that isn't going to use host things, you probably need a runtime to go with it that like bridges the gap between what your application expects and what the system actually provides. And this is, I think, why Flatpak and Snap both do the runtime approach, as opposed to just saying your host needs to provide all the crap it needs. And it's sad and unfortunate, because I really wish it didn't have to work that way. But like, it's pretty easy to have like an AppImage just be subtly or completely broken on my system because of it. That's the real sad truth of it to me.
What you got, Colin?
Yeah, I was going to say, I just didn't want the AppImageLauncher itself to be clouded with a lot of the issues with AppImage, but I made a couple of folders in the downloads folder, one called apps and another one called AppImage, which was the target folder for when you open these things. So it doesn't matter where it is on your system, it just moves it straight into that folder. I thought that was really handy, just to clean up all the app images that you download. They're all in one spot.
And actually, this is a great example of the kind of things I tended to see with AppImages, because if you don't follow all the things that you're supposed to actually do with AppImages, and AppImage authors rarely do, because it makes their AppImages huge. Like if the Kden Live one followed the guidelines for making a good AppImage to the letter, it would be gigabytes in size, and nobody wants that. And that's I think like the biggest challenge when it comes to having a good AppImage. Like, unless your application is kind of small and trivial, they're gonna be pretty big to be useful across all systems, because it's just how that works out. And it's unfortunate, but
I was going to say, I appreciate this AppImageLauncher in a way that it gives you a run once option, and it doesn't integrate it into the menu. So you can try out your AppImage. If you don't like it, then it's not integrated in the system. I think that's a really good integration there with this AppImageLauncher. And the other thing I think is really good is you don't need to mess about with setting the options, making it executable.
Right, executable flag.
You just double click it and it does it all for you. So you can either run it once or you can integrate it into the system. I think there are a couple of really good choices there. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is just a start for them to maybe integrate with a plugin like Flatpaks does, maybe in the future.
I would hope so, personally. Yeah. I know a few years ago, there was somebody exploring the idea of writing a GNOME software plugin about it. And I think there was an old fork that includes it, but they were turned off by the idea that they have to contribute the GNOME software plugin to the GNOME software code base to make it shippable, and so it kind of died on the vine there. They've been pretty big about, like, the last time I talked to the AppImage developers, which was admittedly several years ago. The last time that I talked to them about it, they were very gung-ho about the idea of that they should not have to plug in to they should not have to operate in the ecosystems of the distros and desktops to be able to ship integrations. And so if they have to do those sorts of things, they don't really want to.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of unfortunate, because that meant that a GNOME software plugin or a Plasma Discover plugin for this kind of stuff, so that AppImageLauncher could integrate with them, and that AppImages could be kind of first class in the environments, was probably not going to happen. And that as someone who uses both GNOME and KDE Plasma on a daily basis, I personally would like to see, regardless of way the application is distributed, some means of being able to monitor, manage, and activate applications through the means that my desktop provides. And it's just not a thing that they're interested in. That just makes me a little sad. Although AppImageLauncher does add some real niceties to make AppImages easier to test and then roll out and use if you want to use them.
Yeah. To your point, Neil, there is an app I've been playing with for since December. It's called AppImage Pool, and it's actually a GUI front end for finding and managing and actually downloading app images from appimagehub.com. It's
Neat.
actually really nice. It's built on Flutter. And
oh wow. So
yeah,
it's a Flutter app.
And in fact, when I talked about it on LWW, the Simon had contacted us and said, "Why do you want a centralized app image? That's not what we originally intended. We originally intended."
Oh yeah, he gets really nuts about that. Like, I've met Simon. Yeah, I keep saying his name backwards.
He seems like a nice guy.
He's a nice guy, but man, he's a little strong when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
He sort of flipped out when I mentioned that it would be a really good idea to just have a GNOME software plugin that also let you register sources of app images. And it's like, this should never be a thing. And I'm like, but this is what users want.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what else you expect.
Yeah, especially now that we're spoiled with Flatpak and Snaps and their integration.
Right.
You know, it just makes sense that there is one. And AppImage Pool is a pretty nice one. I've been using it a lot, and it's pretty impressive.
I'll have to give AppImage Pool a try, because it looks like it's on FlatHub.
Yeah, it is. It's a Flatpak as well as an AppImage.
There's so many levels of funny involved there.
Yeah.
So then using that, is it AppImage Pool? Is that what it's called?
Correct.
Yeah.
I can put the link in the.
Yeah. So then would that make it so you wouldn't actually even need AppImageLauncher then? Does that totally bypass the need for that?
No, because AppImageLauncher lets you install apps from any website. And that's the difference.
Okay.
AppImage Pool is just from AppImage Hub. Although you can integrate other apps, it's not as convenient as AppImageLauncher. Yeah.
Interesting.
But it is, it looks pretty.
Yeah.
It looks really nice. It also looks like I might actually want to use it if I'm using AppImages.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
It's nice. It even has a dark mode.
Right. It respects my themes. It works better than any AppImage I've ever used.
Yeah,
which
and
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
I've downloaded a ton of app images on it. So it's been very, very helpful.
Okay, so I'm looking at this AppImage Pool thing, and it says that it has upgrades and downgrades for app images.
Yeah.
If it actually has an updating system built into this, that is a fundamental thing that app images suffer from.
Exactly.
This is also why probably Simon hates it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So a new version has just come out, and I haven't played with it a long time, but they've done a better job with making the updates easier. So because the old version had some issues.
Well, I mean,
So
if
it was
it's,
still
if it's
in beta.
updating the app images and not just doing the itself, like that sounds like potential. So there's two
Yeah.
app image hubs. I'm curious which one it supports. So there's one app image hub that is actually created by the app image team. It's actually a GitHub website with like spreadsheet kind of stuff. So it's not really, and it's also not up to date that much, but it exists. But the other app image hub is based on the Open Desktop website.
Yeah, it's the AppImageHub.com, the open desktop
Okay.
one. Yeah.
So that's the better one to have. So I like that, and it is cool that they do this. But I mean, the thing that I don't like about AppImages, and AppImageLauncher doesn't approach, is the lack of updates. And if this updates it actually brings AppImages to a potential interest to me.
Yeah.
You know?
I
mean, it still doesn't have.
Yeah, man, if it keeps track and updates, which this thing looks like it does. I'm just looking around in it, and it's nice. I think like it's interesting. Yeah, because like the problem with a lot of the problem with AppImage, and from my point of view, is to put it bluntly, it's halfway to Mac OS apps, which is I know where this is inspired from. I use a Mac, I use Windows, and I use Linux. So I live in all three environments so that I can kind of see the pluses and minuses and kind of bring the best into Linux. At least that's how I view it. App images feel like they're halfway there and they're never getting to like past that point, because one very critical aspect of Mac apps is that Mac applications that are distributed as DMG files, which is where AppImages get their inspiration from, typically integrate an update framework. Sparkle is a very common one that is used in the Mac world. And they don't really provide any guidance for an update framework for Linux app images when you're building them or integrating them. And so it just feels like, that's a very important part of making a successful distribution of an application, helping users be able to update them on a regular basis. And in the Mac world, this is so integrated into how applications are distributed that, like, for example, the Telegram application on Mac OS, it's a free software application. It's open source. You can go download the source code and take a look at it and whatever. It is so integrated. The update framework is so integrated that when you click the button, the UI flashes with a progress bar in the title, and it tells you it is updating, and it transparently reloads itself without quitting the whole application, because they have been able to make that part of the core experience, and it'll flash and say, this is now updated. We are reloading, and it reloads the thing, and you never feel like it breaks the user experience. And I've never, ever, ever had an app image do that for me. And I've tried a lot of app images, and I feel like if app images did anything like how the experience is with applications distributed in a similar manner on Mac OS, I would feel like these actually have some real value to the user. But like, if you're just downloading an app image file and then running it, and then never getting any real updates or any of that sort of thing, I just feel like it's not there, and it's really. It's not what I would like users to have, because like when they're using an application, they're not going to know that there's updates unless they actively go look for it. And that's, I think, my principal complaint is that people get stuck with vulnerable versions of things, especially browsers and whatever that are developed as app images, because there's just no mechanism either promoted or built in that actually like handles keeping them up to date. If Mozilla shipped their official tarball as an app image, and had the update framework built into it, I'd be super pleased.
Yes.
because they do a good job of making sure that bloody tarball is portable.
Yeah.
But like, if it was an app image, they just took the same thing and dumped it into an app image and then made it so that it had the update framework that Mozilla ships work with that app image. I would love it. That'd be great. A+, neato, whatever words you want to use there. But like, not even Mozilla's Firefox app, like not even the Firefox app image does that. And it's not made by Mozilla, so it doesn't even have that integration. So it's like, I don't know. I feel frustrated whenever I use an AppImage because I feel like it's just halfway to what I experience with similar apps on the Mac. And I would just, if it's going to emulate the Mac model of application delivery, it should go all the way, including providing guidance on how applications can integrate doing updates, because that's, I think, really critical to making this delivery method successful.
John, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, just to bring it down a little bit on the just reading through the documentation real quickly on that AppImage pool. So the updates actually require AppImage update to be used. So basically, you're not going to get updates automatically unless that app supports the AppImage update tool. So, and from what I could see on like that AppImage hub, there's not too many that do. Unfortunately.
Yeah, that is a problem.
Man,
yeah.
You crushed the one app I tried actually did. So I was like, oh, maybe this is actually a universal thing. No, you just broke my hopes and dreams.
Oh, but maybe that will change.
I hope so.
They're starting they know of AppImage pool, and now maybe they'll integrate better with it.
Yeah, well, if people are building AppImages and using, I guess, the framework AppImage update along with that, then like, yes, this is a real opportunity to make this work better. But again, like my real wish is that if you're going to use an AppImage to deliver your app, integrate the fact that you're delivering an AppImage into your app. Make it so that your app knows that it can update itself and have it do it.
Yeah, well, I have never actually had an AppImage successfully update on its own.
I was just going to say, I have the only example that I've ever seen is Bitwarden. Bitwarden actually does do it, and it does work.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Like simple
I
note
use Bitwarden
says,
as a Flatpak, so I didn't know that.
Simple note says it has an update, and so I click to update it, and then it restarts, and it's still the same version of simple note. It says there's an update, so I click it again, and then it restarts, and then.
So it's
I've seen a lot of that. That's for sure.
So it's at least we're getting there. They got the button that makes it restart the application. It just doesn't do the other part. But you
mean the actual update part?
Right. Yeah, the actual update part. That's not actually working.
For a long time last year, I used Shortcut AppImage. I ported it through several distros and stuff. It worked pretty good. I actually had an update button. I clicked it just this time, and it popped up and downloaded a new version of it.
So there's one AppImage that I have to use because it's not available any other way. I suppose I could download the source code and use OBS if I were actually good at it. OBS, the Open Build Service. But there's Xlights is an application used to do the lights on my house, the displays, to music or whatever. And right now it's it's either St. Patrick's Day or OpenSUSE Green. I'm not sure which. Either way, it's green, my house, and I like it. So I use Xlights for that, and they only have an AppImage. And what that does is when there's an update, it just takes you, when you click to update it, it just takes you to the site to download the next AppImage. But it's kind of nice because sometimes an update, because they do pretty frequent updates on Xlights. So it's actually nice to have a couple of versions deep on that one, because every once in a while you'll download one and it's a little bit ropey. And then you'll, do a bug report, whatever, and they'll fix it in the next one. So I'll use an older version for a little while. So that's actually nice to have. And one of the things I appreciate about AppImage, because I can control which version it is I'm using. And if you can do that with Flatpak or Snaps, I've not seen it. So
sorry, what did you say specific? I missed it for a second. What did you say that you couldn't do in Flatpak and Snap?
Have multiple versions installed at once.
Both Snap and Flatpak support this capability. The Software Center GUI tools don't expose it.
Okay. Well,
because apparently it confuses users, so that's why they don't do it by default. But it is possible for both of them.
It's definitely not intuitive, but
right.
But you can do it.
So this is where AppImage has an advantage. It's very intuitive. You just have it there. Takes up a chunk.
This is totally a plus of AppImage that you can do that. But yes, both Flatpak and Snap do support this capability. However, they don't expose it in none of the graphical tools, Plasma Discover, GNOME Software, Ubuntu Software, whatever. None of them expose it because when they did expose it, it confused users like nobody's business, and so they just stopped showing it. So it is built into the functionality, You just can't see it from the GUI tools, but you can do it from the command line.
Well, maybe I should explore that at some point. But anyway, it's not offered as a Flatpak or a snap. At one time, the application did a great job of theme integration, where it would integrate with the theme like superbly well. Now it does not, and it's irritating because it's a light theme by default. But I mean, it's still very functional. So as long as it works and I can get done what I need to get done, I can overlook the other aspects of it. But I'm sure if I were to build it in the open build service, it'd probably do have a better result on that. So some people popped in here that I haven't heard from Schickel or Mark, and Adam Grubbs. He popped in here, so I'm sure they have lots to say about AppImages. Do you use any AppImages now, Schickel?
I do not. No, I don't have any. I just it's the updates. It's the updates and the sort of integration that I've always struggled with. Like tools like AppImage Hub have helped a lot at finding apps and finding like new versions of apps. But yeah, no, I'm just the kind of guy that likes to open up the store and smack install on whatever's new and fresh and then never touch it again.
Yeah, that's fair. Mark, are you one to use AppImages much?
I do. The one that I religiously use the AppImage for is my Cura 3D printer software, and that one I actually like keeping. Once I verify that the version works with my 3D printer and I've got everything set, I don't actually, I'm not looking for updates. I will update it from time to time to make sure I get features, but I want to be a little bit more in control of that, so that when I go to 3D print, I know what I'm dealing with, a version of the software that I know was working at the last time I did it. So that's Cura. And then I do use I also use FreeCAD as an AppImage. Now that one, I think I would like for it to update, but it works great as an AppImage. So those are the two that I routinely use.
That's cool. I've used both the AppImages for those as well. I moved from using the AppImage to Flatpak for Cura because of the updates, actually. And then as far as FreeCAD, I do keep an AppImage of FreeCAD around because sometimes when I get an update, from the system packages, sometimes a thing will break, and then I can fall back to the AppImage, and that's why I use that. And it's very convenient to have that kind of a fallback. I know when I was working professionally in CAD, we'd get an update and then it'd be broken, and then we had to wait a long time to get someone to come and fix it. So I feel like CAD applications are very susceptible to some kind of a breakage that takes the whole thing down. So that AppImage is a nice fallback.
And I actually have my Cura. I have that saved in my Dropbox folder so that the AppImage syncs between my Linux boxes, and I have the same version on my various Linux boxes. So
it's Mark that does it. I brought that up earlier on in the show, and it says somebody I know does it. So it's Mark that does it. He's the guy.
But generally, I do want everything updated, and there are, I don't think I would use a browser that was deployed AppImage. I want browsers to be the latest up-to-date security patches. It's just my specific use case around the 3D printer and stuff. Knowing that version, I think the AppImage fits that.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So, Adam, are you using Linux these days? I was going to ask you to use an AppImage,
yeah,
but I
not
thought
on the desktop.
okay.
The AppImages I remember using were usually for apps that I just kind of wanted to test, not ones that I necessarily wanted to use day in day. So like it was nice having the ability to install them and play with them or try them out and then destroy them if I didn't like it, or if I did like it, find a way to have a more official way or a different way, something that works for me a little better. But it's largely I just use them as sort of a transient thing, and they were useful for that. I really liked them for that. Sort of like like you would like a Docker container or
I've
something,
ever
but
used.
on
and
the
I've downloaded
Is a good thing or a bad thing?
a Flatpak or a
I've
Snap is
downloaded a
also
ton of
good, but
app
they were
images
just a
on
little
it.
more involved, I guess, than like an app image was just an app image and you're done kind of thing. So I didn't have to worry about adding a repo or anything like that. I just download the app image and go. So it was really great for that.
Kind of like you're taking the application out to dinner, but you're not putting a ring on its finger. Is what you're saying.
Correct. And you're also making it pay for its own dinner. Yeah.
Wow. Savage.
Yeah, AppImage Pool, I'm playing with it right now, and it does show me that Blender had a new version, but Blender was set up for the updates.
I'm playing with it as well, Jill.
Yeah.
I'm playing with it as well. It's quite good, actually. I like
Yeah.
it.
Well, it's funny
Yeah.
because I think most of the applications I've chosen will have the option for updates, but those are more mainstream apps I've chosen to play with it. So Neil, not all is lost.
Yeah.
So as far as application management with AppImageLauncher, but I guess now this new one I've learned of, this AppImage Pool. How easy would you say it is for end users, the typical end user, to be able to utilize AppImages this way?
Easy.
It's a software center, basically.
Yeah, pretty much, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you've got AppImageLauncher installed, when you download an application in AppImage Pool, there's a tab called Installed, and so you click on that, and then the AppImageLauncher will give you the option of run once or integrate.
Yeah.
So it's all done within the AppImage Pool. It's quite good.
And just like a software center, you can run all the apps that you've installed by going to the installed tab. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's got categories as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you can browse by category, which is quite awesome.
So could you say then that using AppImages is very user approachable, like at any level?
Walk in the park.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It looks very similar to GNOME software.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I suspect that's very, very intentional.
So yeah, when I had discovered this, I was like, oh my God. So I knew I had to talk about it today.
All they need now is just to have like an app or AppImageLauncher integrated into that.
Yeah.
And there you go. You've got it. You've got an app center. It's got some really nice scrolling images, although they're blurred.
The whole ball of wax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just downloaded the app image of AppImage Pool. You'll be set.
Yes, that's right.
I installed it via Flatpak.
That too.
It was so
That's
easy.
nice.
Correct. Yeah, Flatpak.
It's kind of funny because I would want to do it with a Flatpak more because then I'd have the updates for
The
him.
updates for the AppImage Pool. Yeah.
You're right, Colin. That is weird.
See, I love AppImages so much. I know about all these apps.
I like AppImages as a concept. It's just like the fact that they don't have a lot of these stuff that I feel like are kind of necessary is what I avoid them for. But if there's an application I need to use, it only comes in AppImages, I will, it's not like I'm gonna be like, oh no, I can't use this application. I'm like, it's fine.
As long as it will actually run.
If it runs, that's great.
Yeah, Michael. In fact, AppImage Pool I used for several pieces of software that we were testing for our show tomorrow.
Nice.
So I used quite a
I
few.
should do that.
Yeah. Aw. Michael
The
and
light
I have
bulb
been
goes off for
really.
Michael.
Michael and I have been very busy doing show notes.
Yeah. Ryan gave us some homework this week. So.
Yeah.
Of course he did.
Gives
We
you
love
homework?
Ryan.
How does he enforce the homework?
Well, he gives us an idea for a topic, we agree, and then that's homework.
And then we have to research.
I have had some issues with AppImage Pool before. I haven't tried the latest download.
Yeah.
But I had an issue where some apps in that store, it'll have only one it has thumbnail or screenshots. The flyby or the switch to the next screen is so fast that you can't actually focus in on the screen too well.
This is true. They can slow it down. Yes.
And if there's one screen, basically you never are able to read it. So
okay. Yeah.
But maybe that's configurable if it's installed via Flatpak. I'm not sure.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
So what do you think the future of AppImages is going to be? Where do you see AppImages going from here? Do you see them getting like more prevalent? I mean, obviously this thing like AppImage pool that seems to add further legitimacy to the AppImage distribution method, but obviously there's some discontent within the AppImage development community if people don't like that centralized version of what method of distribution. So what do you think the long term of AppImage is going to be? Do you think think the developers will acquiesce to the idea of a centralized hub for them, or do you think there's going to be some conflict there?
I think Flatpak's got pretty popular recently, so I'm not sure how good AppImage can bring it up because it's a bit fragmented at the moment, AppImage. I know you still got to go to the website and look at this. I think Flatpak, you do the same, but then you've got Flatseal to organize some of those things. But I don't know, Flatpak for me, I think has been pretty handy. I don't know about AppImages as far as the isolation goes when they're running, because I haven't been running. I used to run a lot of AppImages, but not recently. So I don't know whether they have no isolation. Okay.
Yeah. One of the things so there's two big factors that make AppImages kind of the third of the three choices. And it's the lack of updates as a mechanism without having the third-party tool to be available, and then the security aspect, because there is no containerization to it. So it's basically a compressed image in terms of putting all the stuff in one thing, but it doesn't have any containerization from separation between the system and itself. Whereas Flatpak and Snap both have that. So that's why Flatpaks and Snaps are more appealing, because they have that built-in security function. Whereas AppImages have a benefit of not doing it by having better integration with the system, but that's why Flatpak has this portal system that makes it where they have the integration features as well as the security thing. So in my opinion, that Flatpak that's what's going to take over to the point where, or at least what I want to be the main universal format used, because it has the benefit of all of the stuff you would want in terms of the updates and security and all that stuff, but also have the integration with the system. And I think AppImages, if they ever want to actually compete to become one of the possibilities of winning, they really do need to adopt the updating system. They need to adopt, you could say that you don't need the security thing because you could use FireGel with them. So if they integrated FireGel, that could work. But there are other things that they have to integrate to make it work. And I think that when you asked about the centralization of it and having the hub, is it necessary? I think it's not only important, I think it's vital. And I think without having a centralized location to get the content, you don't know where to get it. You don't know what applications are even available in that format, much less, which version to get. And with the Flatpaks, they recently, a couple of years or so, but they became much more interesting when the Flat Hub came out. It wasn't until the Flat Hub that because in the very beginning in 2014 is when Flatpaks became a thing. And 2014, 2015, I remember a joke was, the only Flatpaks you can get are from the GNOME team. And that's it. There's like 12. And then all of a sudden Flat Hub comes out, and now there's a bunch of Flatpaks. So if AppImages really want to be a viable option, they 100% need a centralized solution for getting them. And also for developers to put them somewhere that people can find them.
I completely agree that's how Flatpak won because of FlatHub and better integration. Because Snap lost me because of the integration. That was absolutely, and before they had the Snap Store, it was discoverability and integration.
So I think it's interesting. Do you think perhaps, I'm just throwing this out here, do you think perhaps so that AppImage actually has a different focus for the applications they're targeting, or their target consumer would be versus Flatpaks, because Flatpak does require some sort of setup from the user.
So let's think about what's the purpose of a universal package format. It's to stop the need for a developer to have a deb, an RPM, a tg.gz, you know, from having all these multiple different versions of a release, right? The goal is that there is a universal way to have that software released and distributed and available to the user. And so that's, if you think of it in those terms, then that's what all of these things should be trying to do. And I think where AppImage sort of succeeds is that it, from my understanding of it, it can be easier to package an AppImage than it can be to package Flatpaks or snaps. And I'm just saying that is something I've read from developers. It's not something I've personally done, but that could be a possibility why some people prefer AppImages over something else. And I've also read that people have said that the developer of AppImage has actually reached out to them and shown them how to do it and made it very easy for them and accessible for the developers to package in AppImage format. Yes. So, yeah.
I've seen the developer of AppImage do that on GitHub multiple times, where someone would say, "Hey, can you have an AppImage of this?" And then the developer Simon would jump in and say, "Hey, if you need help, I'll help you make it," and that sort of thing. So that's a fantastic approach. I think the way he handles that is awesome, and I think that snaps do a similar thing as well. They do contact companies and help them make the snaps. Flatpaks don't seem to be doing that sort of thing, and I think that's a misstep, because Flatpaks are, in my opinion, the technological superior format, but that's just because they handle the nicety of integration while also keeping the security factor, and then you have the ability to kind of customize it if you want to with the flat seal thing. So there's so many different features that it offers that the other ones don't. And I mean, when I open a snap, sometimes I forget which format I'm using on an application, because I don't really care that much as long as I have the application and I can use what I want. And that's fantastic. But when I'm using an email client or whatever, and I click to open the files for just pulled from my download folder or something like that, and I can't read anything because it's just a bunch of boxes, well, then that's a snap. Like, I know that that's a snap at that point, because it doesn't integrate with the system very well, so it can't pick up the fonts. Whereas the Flatpak, that never happens. So to me, Flatpaks have the best option, but AppImages could do it. I just think that the way that they're approaching it, and the way they have been for most of the time it's existing, because AppImages has been around for like 15 years, something like that, because they were originally the click packages. And then there was also, there was like 3 or 4 names before they landed on AppImages. I don't remember exactly what they were, but I think Click was the first one. And they have a good idea in terms of creating a package that anybody can download and install, or not even have to install. But without having the stuffs around that as a concept, then they're just missing the boat for, like earlier you mentioned how some developers say it's easier to make an AppImage. Well, that makes sense. You can't update. You don't have security features. You don't have it makes sense. It'd be easier.
Yeah, it makes sense.
My question is probably more a broader philosophical one. Do we really want AppImages to resemble Flatpaks and snaps at the end of the day? Because some of the things that we've mentioned about AppImages, we may see as disadvantages compared to snaps and Flatpaks. But as Nate demonstrated, having a specific version of an application works for him. So whilst some things may seem disadvantages, they may actually be advantages to some other people. And so if that's the case, having that choice to still do something in a completely different way, does that still make sense as well, rather than also having everything sort of feel like more the same sort of thing?
I would say that having an application have the integration to be able to do updates is not the same as forcing auto updates. So, like in the Flatpak case, you are not actually required to do updates of the application, even though it is built into the framework. Snap is the only one of the 3 systems that essentially forces you to continue updating because it will do it without user intervention, and you can't really turn that off. You can only delay the inevitable. I think up to 90 days you can delay, but it will then update your applications, and Bob's your uncle. But for Flatpak and AppImage, no update framework or update integration I've ever seen says you must update and you don't get a choice. So I think it's very important that an AppImage provides a built-in update mechanism. I think it's equally important that the user has the opportunity to not update if they need to. Because yes, there are definitely use cases in which not updating is a very, very important thing that a user needs to be able to do for a certain specific use case. It shouldn't be the default, but it should be a capability you can do. And I think that's more than reasonable, in my opinion, especially if you don't have sandboxing.
My Flatpaks have been updating automatically on my system. And I have a couple which have been masked. So they won't update at all unless I unmask them. So they'll stay at the same version.
Did you set up auto update for your Flatpaks?
No, I don't remember doing that. Not that I remember. All I did was.
It could be.
Are you using GNOME software?
I'm using the GNOME desktop on Arch Linux.
Yeah, so GNOME software by default auto updates Flatpaks.
Okay.
Plasma Discover does not do that, and you can turn that off in GNOME software, but it is not. But it is the default behavior is that Flatpaks are auto updated in GNOME software. That default happened a few years. That settings change happened a few years ago. It used to not do that. It does now.
That's
so that's a GNOME software thing.
You have the Flatpak itself does not require a Flatpak format, and the Flatpak system doesn't require the auto updates, but the GNOME software does do them, which makes people think that the Flatpaks require auto updates.
Right. So it's important to
those
distinguish that
yourself,
the
too, if you
client
want
makes
them.
a difference here.
But I think that Vince's question is really interesting, and I agree that having an AppImage as a format is useful depending on the needs. And there are times where I need to have a different version, or I'll update a particular application and then have some massive breakage and go back to an older version, and it worked just fine. Like, I know that is definitely a thing to happen. And I just think that it'd be great if Flatpak made it more easy to install specific versions, and like being able to do that would be kind of solving the problems with the AppImage solution. But
That
I do
would
think
be
AppImages
awesome.
provide that as a great option to provide that.
Also, beyond just the versioning, I think you mentioned earlier that potentially it's seen as a negative that AppImages aren't sandboxed, but I can contend that there are times that sandboxing is its own complication. And so if you trust a piece of software to have it on your system, which is essentially what you're doing when you're installing a repo package, that sometimes again that abstracted layer of the containerization, Flat Seal is such an, whoever came up with Flat Seal deserves some sort of award, because it is truly the most straightforward way to look at the permissions of something, right? It's easy to understand for the most part. It's easy to know, like, oh, I can't open a file from there because this one obviously is sandboxed. So I'll go into Flat Seal. I'll make that either just that directory specifically available, or I could make all user files, or I could make all, it's so easy to use. But without that, it can be a real problem to try to figure out, okay, am I having a problem because of the sandboxing here, or am I having a problem because of the application? So the AppImage you can look at it as an advantage to say that, there is none of that, and it is just sort of very straightforward. So
I have to actually, unfortunately, agree to some extent, because I use the Flatpak for Element on my Fedora workstation machine. And it was extremely frustrating to figure out why I couldn't drag and drop an image from my desktop to attach and to send as a message so I could do GIFs. That turned out to be extremely annoying. And I went and got Flat Seal, and basically I had to unlock the ability to access my pictures directory. And that this is where I kind of wish Flat Seal's functionality was built into GNOME software, or built into GNOME itself. Like, to me, it's ludicrous that it is split out into a third-party application that FlatHub, Flatpak, GNOME Software, whoever you talk to, they disavow its existence. And it's just ludicrous from my point of view to pretend that people won't need the ability to see how the application is sandboxed.
To be fair, though, that isn't something that I would see as a particularly, I mean, not that there might not be some challenges to it, but the fact that you can see permissions already under the settings for GNOME settings for applications, it's not too far of a, to think that maybe someday that they will include the permissions that you see in FlatSail on directly as first class within, the settings app. So, but I agree with you. On one hand, like if you don't know that FlatSail exists, right? It's like you don't know that GNOME Tweaks exists, right? Like, how do I do this thing?
Right. I feel like it's in the same boat as that, right?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be. Like both of those things should actually just be part of the experience. Maybe an advanced part or whatever, click through, say, I know what I'm doing. Thank you very much. Don't hold my hands or whatever. But like ignoring that is a thing is kind of ludicrous, and it should just be part of the experience. I know I've talked to the KDE Plasma folks about this, and there's definitely interest in making sure that this is part of the default experience for Flatpaks on KDE Plasma in the future. It takes time to develop that sort of thing, but like at least from that front, they're interested in it. I want this also in GNOME because it's really frustrating when it's not there.
Well, the FlatSail application is designed by Martin LaHaye, and he is part of GNOME in some way. Like he is a member of the foundation. So I'm not sure why they would say it's like a third party thing, except for I guess technically it's not. Maybe it's not sanctioned or something. But I do want to say that this is a fantastic application. It does provide a lot of value to a lot of people, and the Element is a great example because by default you only have access to your downloads folder. And while I have been for so long just accepting it, I have to move everything to my downloads folder before I can drag and drop. FlatSail does solve that problem completely. And also, most importantly, the icon for FlatSail is duct tape. So I just want to applaud them for that decision.
That is funny. I was going to say to Neil's comment about not being able to access something. The most secure systems in the world are those that you can't access. So maybe they're just doing it for your own good.
Well, I mean,
going back
Kind of the
to
purpose.
going back to the AppImages for a second, something Vince said. I want to kind of there are scenarios where I think AppImages work that you simply could not do with Snap or Flatpak. Like as an example, something I used to do in a former life, I used to work for school districts, and one of the common things we would do is set up classrooms, like computer classrooms for them to do something. And because students absolutely obliterate and destroy everything in a single day or a single class, even you have to basically rebuild the machines from scratch. Like you script that out, you rebuild the machines from scratch every
That's
single
funny.
class, right? That really is how we used to do it in labs. Yeah. But one of the things we used to do back in the day, which was actually fairly complicated because I did a lot of Linux stuff with that, is you would have an NFS share with all of your apps that you're going to use, but there's still a lot of work in getting libraries, making sure they work, all that kind of stuff. You just mount the NFS share and run them. Something like AppImages would really make that easy because you could actually just put the AppImages all on a share, share it with NFS. And, yes, you have to find a way to update them and manage them as far as that goes, but it's still a one-time thing, which there'd be no way to make something like that work with Snap or Flatpaks.
Flatpaks
I think it'd be useful.
Flatpaks, you can do that. You can't do it with Snaps because your own server repo is not a possibility, but it is a possibility in Flatpaks. So
yeah, you could
install it on the local machine. You could install it on the local machine, but you're dealing with containerization and whatnot. So I'm talking about like having an NFS share where you just put the apps one place and all of the clients mount that NFS share and then run the app from that NFS share.
Yeah, so that's actually possible in Flatpak. They're called Flatpak bundles. Yeah. And they basically bundle in the runtime and the application into a single archive, and you can put them onto a removable drive or an NFS share, and Flatpak can be configured to load them that way. So yeah, you can do an AppImage style distribution of a Flatpak.
That's interesting.
It's by far not the preferred way to do it, because then you lose the update mechanism. But if you want to, you can absolutely do it.
There is also another method of having your own Flatpak repo, because you can have multiple repos connected to your Flatpak install, and you could set up a script that will just install the Flatpaks for you, and it'll remove the Flatpaks in its current thing, get rid of the data for the Flatpak, reinstall it, and you could have it that automated process. The only thing is you'd have to create your own repo, which would not be as straightforward as creating an NFS share. And I do think that is a great approach of doing it, because it is basically just delete all the app images, put them all back, and you're done. Except for like the home data would still be separate on the app images, because if they mess up with like the data and it's stored on the system itself, it would still be there. Whereas you'd have to clean that out in the same way that the Flatpaks would. So it's kind of the same thing, but the reason I like the Flatpak approach is because the repo you can kind of control a lot more in terms of the automation factor.
And maybe, and I'll give another pro tip here for someone who's been fiddling around with this stuff for large scale deployments. At least in the if you're using CentOS Stream or Red Hat Enterprise Linux or Fedora, or derivatives of any of those, you can configure via Kickstart to add a Flatpak remote and install Flatpaks as part of installation. Anaconda supports it. So you can pre-configure, pre-install on mass deployment. Maybe your school district or whatever organization you're doing has a custom Flatpak remote where you've imported the applications from FlatHub that you wish to have. Then you can then turn around and configure those during install time and have them configured and set up. Or you could do make an image and then DD that image onto all the machines. There's a number of different strategies. I don't think other distributions have this capability yet, but it is certainly something, like if you're doing mass deployment stuff, if you have a Foreman or a Red Hat Satellite or whatever, all these things are open to you, and you should consider it if you're trying to figure out how to do mass deployment with Flatpak stuff.
It's pretty wild. I do think that, I like that you can have Flatpak installed, right from Anaconda. Maybe you should talk to the OpenSUSE folks, since you're on the board, about actually just having FlatHub enabled by default on OpenSUSE. Neil?
I actually, I won't go too much into detail here because everything's not quite figured out. We've talked about maybe having Fedora's filtered FlatHub remote pre-configured on OpenSUSE systems. Because as it's been put to me several times, if Red Hat's legal team is okay with it, they're very strict about the legalese and vagaries and rights and all that stuff. If they're okay with it, then so are we, and so we may actually see that.
What is the filtered? What does that mean, filtered? So is it just a curated group of flat?
It's a curated of the. Basically, what happens in Fedora land is that we evaluate the top 50, 100 something of FlatHub applications. We do various checks that involve whether it works, whether it is legal to redistribute, and a couple of other things. And if all those checks pass, then we add it to the filter by default, and it shows up in Fedora's software centers. So for example, the Bitwarden app shows up out of the box on Fedora if the Fedora filtered FlatHub remote is turned on when you click the checkbox to turn on third-party sources. So things like that will be present, and then you can use them. It's not the whole of FlatHub, but it gives you something. And if the user individually wants to add the whole of FlatHub, the instructions on flathub.org will overwrite the filtered remote with the full one automatically. And so you will get all of the things. It's a compromise for various reasons with details that I literally am not allowed to get into, but it gives people, most people, what they actually want from there, in some respects. And then if you want more, it's not hard to do it on your own.
Well, that's very cool. That's very encouraging. I like to seeing Fedora and OpenSUSE be more end user focused with their distributions. That's nice to see.
Yeah, I will have to tell you later about some of the other things, after the show, maybe, of some of the other things I've been doing between Fedora and OpenSUSE that have given me heartburn. Michael already knows a little bit of it, but I think you'd be interested in it as well.
I absolutely will be. And with that, it is time. Is there a last call? Anything that somebody wants to bring up before we kind of close things out? I do have my list of people that I'm going to hit up, but if anybody has anything that maybe they would like to add right here at the very end, now is that time.
I was going to say, just highlight what Gorodonu said on YouTube chat. He said, all I want from Flatpak and FlatHub, easier packaging, runtime permissions, developer portal on FlatHub, just like Google Play Console.
Oh, don't we all? I really wish the developer experience for Flatpak and FlatHub was better. I think the GNOME Foundation has taken it as an axis of concern. Like they've gone ahead and started like a dedicated effort and funding and contracted out and developers to work on bringing it up to scratch. I think we're going to see that in the next year, that we'll see a Google developer portal like experience for FlatHub.
Cool.
And I'm excited about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they're working on in the back end for Flatpaks. That's one of the reasons I'm excited. And also the fact that they're making it possible for the store to allow you to purchase applications as well is going to be very incentivizing for developers to start making Flatpaks like that.
Well, it's very encouraging to hear. I hope this continues to be getting more awesome, for sure. All right.
Yeah, I was going to mention one thing that I found with AppImages. The companies that seem to build AppImages, a lot of the open source software, also they seem to deliver the software cross-platform, Windows and Mac also. So it's one of those things I keep seeing that when I go to download an AppImage for Linux, there's the Windows and the Mac software right there too. So I don't know, not sure why. Maybe it's again something about the way it's easy to set up, but I've noticed that.
AppImages are a lot of times I'll see them as an option that companies are using for that kind of thing, and it probably is because they're just easier to make. But it is great that exists so that people can do that. Because again, I don't. It might seem like I'm being very negative because yes, Flatpak is my preference, but I will use whatever as long as the developer lets me use it on Linux.
I'm pretty much in that same boat. Well, for future application appetizers, if you have any suggestions for an application that you think that we should explore, suggest them by sending an email to appsuggestions@linuxsaloon.com, or you can do like a hashtag appsuggestions in the Telegram, Discord, or if you can start a thread on the Discourse forum at Destination Linux Network. Discourse.destinationlinux.network. So please
dlnforum.com.
Or you can go to dlnforum.com, as I just heard. I think that was in my ear here. That'd be a little bit easier. But please, we'd love to hear some more other app suggestions. That's kind of a tongue twister for me right now. I would love to hear them.
Do we have a Matrix room?
I think eventually, Michael, maybe someday.
I'll get on
Matrix.
that.
Okay.
I'll get on that.
Cool.
I think I did, but I don't remember because I've been doing a lot of stuff lately.
We talked about it, but you were very busy, and I didn't want to knock on that door too hard in fear of it getting slammed in my face. So
that won't happen. I think I did. No. I don't remember if I did, but if I didn't, I will.
All right. Well, good deal. All right. So we have lots of active people in this community here in the Linux Saloon that do a lot of things outside during the week, like Rick, not a Linux guru, has a Wednesday night stream at 8 p.m. I think that's Eastern, but what is it your time?
It is 6 p.m.
And that's your
time.
So okay, Mountain Time. So nobody lives in Mountain Time except for Rick. So if you are one of those few people, there you go. Also, Mark, you have the Atlanta Linux Users Group, and that's every Sunday at what time?
From 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. And you can always get more details on that at ale.org.
Excellent. And Steve's very own has a Sunday morning stream that he does.
I think it's too quick tomorrow with
Yeah.
spring ahead.
Yeah, it's true. So usually it says it starts at like 9:05, but usually it starts at like 9:10, sometimes 9:11.
I learned from the master in the room. We won't say who he is.
I'm pretty great at being late. And then you also have something else. So it's at 8 a.m. Central, but you have a merch store now. Is that true, or is this just a vicious lie that was started by Colin?
No, it had to come from Vince because.
Vince. Well, somebody from Australia anyway.
We'll probably talk about it more in the morning. I started designing some stuff on Teespring.
Oh, cool! That's excellent. So yeah, click into. I don't know how to say it now. Steve's very own 8 a.m. Central on Sundays, and then Destination Linux will be streaming live tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern. And would you like to tease us as to what it is they're going to be chatting about tomorrow?
Sure. Real quick, we have multiple times covered various different browsers. We've covered the big browsers like Vivaldi and Chromium and Chrome and Firefox and all that stuff. And every time we do, we get some comments from people like, hey, you should cover some lesser known browsers. So we've made a list of a bunch of lesser known browsers, and we're going to cover a lot. That's the homework we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So we had to try out a ton of different browsers, and a few of them I had already used, but some of them I didn't, and a couple I was surprised they even still exist. So that would be interesting for, I think, people who are like have been around from the browser world for a long time, and also just curious about what the other browsers are.
So like Netscape Navigator, is that still a thing?
SeaMonkey.
Unfortunately, not that. Although SeaMonkey is a great suggestion. That is a thing.
One of my favorites.
I was surprised it exists.
That's awesome. Linux User Space releases on Monday the review of Slackware. So if you have not yet installed Slackware and you want to hear more about it than you thought could be possible, listen to Linux User Space, because Leo is likely to give you a complete rundown. And I always enjoy his I would say it's a summary, but it's too much. It's much more than a summary. So it's a very detailed, comprehensive discussion on the history of Slackware. So I'm really looking forward to that. Have not listened to it yet.
They do the history of stuff on that show, and there's sometimes like the project they're covering is not that old, and they still go to this huge amount of history. And now they have Slackware to do.
Yeah,
who knows how long that is.
It should probably be a two-parter, just on the history.
One just the history.
Maybe.
So I look forward to that. I've not listened to it yet, and I'm excited when I can listen to that tomorrow. And then also Linux Out Loud, this Wednesday will be coming out. We're discussing the top things to teach in tech. It was a great conversation that Wendy and I had. Unfortunately, Matt couldn't be there. Apparently, he was all sad that we trolled him the week before, or he trolled us. I'm not sure which.
Aww.
That was other reasons. And then for anything more on me, go to qglenate.com, and I got stuff there. So thank you all for being a part of this conversation in both the Zoom meeting and in the YouTube stream, as well as everyone watching the show after the fact. I want to thank everyone involved in making the Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back into personal computer. Thank you for stopping by, and be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to always Linux responsibly. Until next time, see yous.
Bye, all.
Bye.